It's no secret on this channel of my love affair with old-school text adventure games, and particularly Space Quest III. Although I primarily grew up playing games on the Atari 2600 as well as the 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System, we did have a computer in my house, which led to an infatuation with text adventure games. It started out with simple games such as Colossal Cave Adventure, which I covered recently here on the channel, and I eventually discovered Moon Mist as well, a text adventure detective story involving a murder in a creepy old house that may or may not be haunted. These games were purely text. It was just text on screen and a parser where you entered commands. So you can imagine my shock when I got introduced to Space Quest III, the Pirates of Pestulon, sometime around the age of 10, I think. The Space Quest games take the adventure and puzzle-solving aspects of text adventure games. You still type in commands into a text parser while you're trying to solve puzzles, but it also added in actual graphics and plunged the player into a futuristic but wacky universe. Sort of like Mad Magazine meets Star Trek, with over-the-top science fiction and pop culture parody. Hello, and welcome to Friday Night Arcade. So, it's crazy to think, but 6 years ago, right here on this very futon, I recorded my very first episode of Friday Night Arcade. It was covering one of my all-time favorite games, Space Quest III, which was this exact same box that I used in the video. And 6 years later, here we are. So, it's pretty crazy that this whole thing has lasted so long. And so I every year I like to take a look back at one of the Space Quest games, but the show's been around so long that I've reviewed all 6 of the official games now. So this time I thought it'd be fun to do something a little different, and there was actually a developer named Kjell Emanuelsson, I think is how it's pronounced. He's Swedish, and he produced a 3D remake of Space Quest III, or actually just a remake of kind of the first area of Space Quest III. So at the end of this video, I thought it would be fun to just check that out and see what a 3D version of Space Quest III would look like. But getting back to the original Space Quest III, when I started this channel 6 years ago, I didn't expect anybody to even watch any of these episodes, okay? It was kind of just something I wanted to do for my own amusement. I just thought, man, that looks like a lot of fun. I'd like to do an episode. So I'd always kind of had it in my mind that if I just did one video, I wanted to do a video about Space Quest III, because the experience of playing this game through for the first time was, it's something that you can't really describe. When you went from text adventures like Colossal Cave, where it's just all text on screen, or Moon Mist, and then you jump into something like this, there's a certain freedom in those type of games, and then you go to this, which you basically just can kind of explore the game at your own pace. Really, it was just such a cool and unique experience for 10-year-old me playing through Space Quest III for the first time. I mentioned the science fiction and pop culture parody that goes with this game. It's just really kind of a fun universe that the creators, Scott Murphy and Mark Crow, put together. It's just kind of a fun place to hang out. Up to that point, you're playing Atari games, Chopper Command, Space Invaders. You're playing NES games, maybe Ninja Gaiden, Super Mario Brothers. In those games, it's all action. It's just, run to the right, kill anything that moves, or blast anything that comes on the screen. You're not really stopping to hang out and take in the scenery. Whereas Space Quest gives you that freedom to kind of hang out. You want to hang out and just see what's going on. And, I grew up reading Mad Magazine and stuff like that, so just the silly parody humor and stuff really grabbed me, along with just kind of hanging out and exploring the area at your own pace. I always wanted to stop and look at every little thing in the game and see, what did the creators put in? What kind of silly descriptions did they put in? I always wanted to stop and examine every inanimate object. Was it something I might need to complete the game, or was it just something that was cool to look at, or something that might be kind of a funny joke that they might have put in there. So yeah, everything about this game was just amazing to me. Even the box art. It's some of my favorite box art. In fact, it may very well be like my favorite box art ever. I mean, I even had a like a giant poster of this made and put it up in my office just to kind of commemorate the first episode of the show, and just also I just thought it looked cool. So that hangs right over my computer where I do video editing every week for the show. So I just thought it would kind of be fun to check out this 3D remake and see what that's like, as well as just kind of remember my experiences playing this game the first time through.
For those that haven't played it or haven't seen the original episode I did about Space Quest 3 6 years ago, here's the short version. The core gameplay elements in the Space Quest series revolve around puzzle solving and exploring. You wander around an area, checking things out, typing commands into a text parser, picking up items and using those items in some way to solve a puzzle and proceed with the story. Maybe you have to use the items on something that you see in your environment, or maybe you have to use them in combination with other items. Oh, and you die a lot. It's a lot of trial and error. At the end of Space Quest 2, Roger Wilco jettisoned himself in an escape pod and went off drifting through space in suspended animation. Space Quest 3 picks up a little bit after this and finds Roger still drifting through space. It's sort of like the beginning of the second Alien movie, where Sigourney Weaver has been drifting through space for 57 years in the escape pod from the Nostromo before getting picked up by a deep space salvage team. Roger Wilco's escape pod gets picked up by an automated garbage freighter ran by a single droid, and that's where you come in. Roger wakes up to find himself in this garbage freighter, and you take over and have to find another spaceship as well as get it in working order so that you can escape this thing. Once you commandeer a ship and blast your way out of the freighter, you're just in control of your very own spaceship with freedom to explore the galaxy.
So yeah, once you get out of the garbage freighter and you have your own spaceship, you just kind of have freedom to roam around at your own pace. Now, this isn't Mass Effect. So there are some artificial limitations built in. There's only a couple planets you can even go to. One of the planets isn't even on your navigation computer yet. And one of the other planets, you have to have a certain item before you go down to that planet. Otherwise, if you go down to it without that item, you'll end up melting. So that's part of it. But it was just cool having that freedom. That was just something you didn't see in video games. Like I said before, most of the time it was just, you run to the right, you kill anything that moves. Whereas this really felt like you were just in control of your own spaceship and you could kind of go around. And it was just kind of a cool, like I said before, it was just kind of a cool place to hang out. And as a 10-year-old, I was just totally blown away by it. I thought it was the most incredible thing. And sure, it's primitive by today's standards, but the experience of playing that in that particular time and space, it was released in March of '89. I probably didn't play it until maybe 1990, I don't think. I think I was maybe 10 years old, I want to say, when I played it. It might have been out for a little bit. I'll never forget just the thrill of that freedom and being able to explore, and just how cool that felt. So yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I thought it would be really fun to check out this 3D remake. So here we go, Space Quest 3, the 3D remake on Friday Night Arcade.
All right, so this is it. Space Quest 3 in 3D, or at least the first part of the game. So let's jump in and see what happens. Oh wow, that is super cool. So normally this would have been broken up into several screens, but it's actually just set up to where you can actually just walk through it continuously. So that in and of itself is just kind of a different way to think about it. You always just think of these areas as 3 or 4 different screens here on this bottom floor of the garbage freighter, but that is super cool. So there's the space pod, and then you can he's actually programmed in. This is the escape pod which safely whisked you away from Vohal's burning asteroid fortress. The scan of the pod plainly registers the cumulative damage long periods of space travel can inflict on a small craft such as this. That is super cool. And then yeah, if you try to open it, The door was automatically sealed when the pod shut down shortly after your exit. It had served its purpose and will be of no further use. That's the game's nice way of telling you that you're gonna have to think of something else. That's really cool, though. So it's not just a static object. It's actually kind of got some venting that's going on. That is super cool, though. Wow. Yeah, you don't think about how big this thing was, and that's interesting. Technically, you never actually see the ceiling in the original version, so he kind of had to come up with something on his own. That's interesting. And then, yeah, so there's the like the girder system that kind of runs near the roof, and in there is actually where that evil robot is. So there's a robot at a control center up there, and you have to jump on the grabber and ride the grabber. It's this thing that kind of just hangs off of that girder. You have to jump on that. You have to do all that before the robot sees you, because if the robot sees you, it'll come and kill you. And then you have to ride that all the way over there. Actually, you ride it over here, and you pick this thing up. This is a warp motivator. Closer look at the object on the floor reveals that it is a warp motivator. It looks a bit more high-tech than the other junk strewn about this locale. Sturdily constructed, its only protrusion is a modular plug near its base. While relatively small, it seems to be quite dense. I think we're looking at a potential hernia if any attempts are made to manually relocate it. So yeah, you have to get on this this thing called a grabber, and it's basically just kind of like a forklift almost, but it's got this big claw that comes down. You use that to pick up the warp motivator, and then you ride over there. And on the other side of those two big junk piles is the aluminum mallard, which is the ship you need in order to break out of the garbage freighter. And unfortunately, the developer didn't finish the game, so this is the only part. Normally, you'd be able to walk through this tunnel, but the skeletal remains of a stripped-down space tanker stage lie half buried in scrap. It seems to have been caved in by debris, or perhaps some lazy developer didn't want to remake an entire game due to dicochorasophobia. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it basically means the fear of lawyers. So the developer admitted that this was just kind of a concept, but not much remains. If anything, there was anything of value stripped away a long time ago. Yeah, so this was just kind of a concept. Admittedly, he didn't want to get sued by Sierra or whoever it is that owns the Sierra assets now. I think it's Vivendi was the company that released the Space Quest series as a box set several years ago, and I'm not sure if they even still exist anymore, or if somebody else bought them now, but somebody besides the two guys from Andromeda actually owns the assets to Space Quest 3. Which is why the new game that the creators of Space Quest are working on, Scott Murphy and Mark Crow, it's in the spiritual successor. It's in the same spiritual sense as the Space Quest games, but it's called Space Venture, and it has a totally different main character. It's kind of a similar concept, but and they've been working on that game for a long time. It's actually supposed to go into beta testing sometime this year. So yeah, there would have been, when you walk through this tunnel, there would have been a little thing where you pull the wires off of the wall, because you need the wires to connect the warp motivator in the ship. So we can't actually get there because it's just kind of cut off here. But this is still just so cool. And he got the colors just right too. Just the colors of the walls, and they're kind of run down looking. This is super cool. I wonder if the garbage freighter was actually sort of inspired by perhaps maybe the scene in the first Star Wars movie where they jump down the garbage chute. It's kind of along the same concept of that. And then there's all sorts of other cool stuff that you can look at here. And so this was all in the original game. This is the Acme rocket. This ship is another fine but worthless Acme product. That's awesome. There's no visible means of entry. So yeah, basically what you're doing on this on the garbage freighter is you're going around and you're looking through all this wreckage, and you're trying to find another ship that you can use to get out of the garbage freighter. And you find all of these partial ships. Like here's the Jupiter 2 from the show Lost in Space. That may be before some of your time, but they remade that show on Netflix, which I've not seen the remake. It says Jupiter 2. This baby must have been floating around out there for a long time. It doesn't hold your interest for very long. There is no visible means of entry. I remember when I was a kid, I always used to try to get in through this little like porthole thing. I'm like, man, there's got to be a way in here. Just because that's a cool looking ship to fly around. I mean, it actually looks like, you know, a flying saucer. And then you've got the bow tie fighter over here. This bulbous craft looks like it was seen a lot of action in its day. You believe it to be a bow tie fighter dating back to the Cologne Wars. Get it? There's no visible means of entry. Yeah, so this is another one that you can't actually do anything with. But there should be. If this was the actual game, there'd be a little piece of scrap metal down here somewhere that you could peel away, and there's a ladder underneath it that goes down to where the little room with the rats is, and you got to get the generator from there. So after you do the whole thing with the grabber, and you go over, you drop off the warp motivator, you got to ride the grabber back across and go over here again, and then you jump down a big chute, like a laundry chute type thing, and you end up down in this somewhere underneath here. And you steal some wire. Well, I don't think you take the wires, but you take a generator, and then you climb up a ladder, and you end up back here. So then you got to go back around the corner to the ship. But unfortunately, we can't get to the ship. Oh, I think I know what happens here. You see nothing but riveted metal, but yeah, it's obvious that the metal was sharper than you. The resulting laceration turns you into a living fountain, at least for a few moments. Unfortunately for you, this show was your finale. Good luck in the afterlife. Oh, that's cool. They even got the little death scene in here. A brave but fatal attempt at arterial art. Yeah, so that's another thing about the Space Quest games. There's a million ways to die in these games. Usually the way that you would get through the game was through trial and error. You would just try something and hope for the best, and then you'd either die or something good would happen and you'd proceed with the story. Some people don't like that type of game, the trial and error stuff. I thought it was super cool. Games like this, or games on the NES like Shadowgate and stuff like that, I thought that was just tons of fun to play. This is so cool. I am seriously just blown away by this. So yeah, in the original version, I mean, you would see these kind of piles of junk, and you'd see these big pieces. Oh boy, it's a big one. Yeah, right. That's just what you need. You know, you'd see these things, but you don't really get a grasp on how big the scale was supposed to be. And then, like, just the piles of debris. They really, man, he really put a lot of work into making all of that. And just all the colors and everything. And that is super cool. That is just really cool looking. I'm like, somebody has to finish this game. He said that he made it open source, so you can just download it off of his website. And I'll put a link to all of that. Actually, I'll put a link to his video in the description, and his video has links to his website and all of that stuff. So I will link directly to his video, the developer of this, whose name I am not going to attempt to pronounce. But if anybody out there is in any way adept at game design and 3D game design and that sort of thing, boy, it would be super awesome if you finished this. I know there'd be no financial gain whatsoever, but man, it would be so cool to play through the whole game like this. It's a little weird not having the text parser and just having the little pop-up commands, but still, it's just so cool. The way he got the lighting and everything. And then, yeah, even just... So Roger's kind of goofy looking. I mean, he's supposed to be kind of goofy looking anyway. And it's weird that he can jump. Because really that wasn't a thing in the game. Well, I guess you do jump once. When you get up to the top of that thing, there's a big garbage shredder. And you have to jump to get on the girder and then walk over there to jump on the grabber. And I always thought this arm was cool. Because if you go and look at this thing, it says somewhere there's an oversized android missing a limb. You try to use it, it just says no. So that was half the fun of these games, was just walking around and looking at the different items that were in there, and then seeing what types of goofy, zany descriptions that the developers put in there. Like I said, the humor, it was like, it was kind of a cross between Mad Magazine, and it was just kind of goofy, nonsensical parody, but it was funny. I thought it was hilarious when I was a kid. Buckets are attached to a conveyor. They haul metal debris to a horizontal conveyor above. The conveyor seems broken, or perhaps some lazy developer didn't want to remake an entire game. Yeah, so normally in the actual game, there's a conveyor belt that comes up, and it brings up these little buckets of trash, and it's hauling the trash up to the top of that thing and then dropping it in this giant garbage shredder. So you would wait for one to come up and just kind of stand there, and then it would pick you up with it. And I just remember the look on Roger's face when he's getting picked up by this bucket. He kind of has this panicked, oh crap look on his face. Man, this is so cool looking. I would give just about anything to see the full version of this, but even if not, this is still super cool. I don't know what the legal ramifications would be of remaking the entire game like this. I know there's other fan games. There's other Space Quest fan games. They weren't nearly as involved as this. They were complete games. There was one called like Bullhall Strikes Back or something. At some point, I'm going to do a video on all the fan games and just talk about all of them kind of in general. There's, I think 4 or 5 pretty good ones. A lot of them use assets from the other games. Like there's one that looks like Space Quest II. You're like even, I think, revisiting some of the same worlds from Space Quest II, and there's one that's like kind of a prequel. So that would be super cool to go back and look at those. But because they were non-commercial, I don't think Sierra or whoever owns Sierra now went and like sought those people out, and did anything about it. It's not like when Nintendo will go and shut down, the Metroid 2 remakes and stuff like that. Like somebody was remaking Metroid 2 as a either 8-bit or 16-bit overhaul. It was basically the same game, but they did it in 8-bit or 16-bit, and Nintendo completely shut it down. I don't even know if Sierra would bother at this point. They might, and I mean, I don't blame the guy for being nervous about doing it, even if it was not for profit, because like the Metroid ones were, the Metroid game was not going to be for profit, and Nintendo still shut it down. So that's unfortunate. What Nintendo should have done was they should have just hired the guy and paid him to finish it, and then sold it for $49.99, and it probably would have made a poop ton of money. But Nintendo's a little out of touch some days. So, man, this is so cool. I am just blown away by how cool this is. so... Alright, I could sit here and Google this all day, but I think we better wrap this up. So yeah, I'll put a link to all of this in the, like I said, I'll put a link to the guy's video in the description. If you go and watch his video, he's got links on how to download it and all that stuff off of his website. And, I feel like he shouldn't be able to walk on this garbage the way he is. I wonder if I can get over here. I gotta try. I don't think it's gonna work. Nope. There's an invisible wall stopping me here. So anyway, I just wanted to say thanks for 6 years on YouTube. I appreciate all of your support, whether you've been watching the show since the beginning, or maybe you just discovered it more recently. Thanks for writing in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for telling a friend or sharing the show on social media. Just thanks for making Friday Night Arcade possible. I can't believe it's been going for 6 years. That's pretty crazy when I stop and think about it, but I'm having a blast doing this, and I hope to be doing this for as long as you'll let me. So thanks everybody for all of your support. Thank you for watching. Please don't text and drive, and I'll see you next time on Friday Night Arcade.